Welcome to the Rudic Report. Today is Monday, December 8th, 2025. I've been getting a lot of questions about XRP, about Ripple, and what's going on. So I figured I'd take a few minutes and just lay things out the way I see them. So I figured I'd start at the beginning. So what is XRP? XRP is a digital asset created by Ripple to modernize global finance by enabling fast, cheap, and reliable cross-border payments. Traditionally, the banks relied on Nostro and Vostro accounts to move money internationally. A Nostro account means our account with you, referring to money a bank holds in a foreign country so it can pay customers in that currency. A Vostro account means your account with us, referring to money a foreign bank holds locally to pay customers in the domestic currency. These accounts tie up billions of dollars in idle capital because banks must pre-fund them, and every transfer creates foreign exchange costs. Ripple's solution, called on-demand liquidity or ODL, eliminates the need for these accounts by using XRP as a bridge currency. So instead of locking money away, banks can instantly convert dollars into XRP, send it across the ledger in seconds, and convert it into pounds, euros, or any other currency on the other side. The way XRP achieves this speed and efficiency is through its consensus mechanism. So unlike Bitcoin's proof-of-work system, which requires miners to solve complex puzzles using massive amounts of computer power and electricity, XRP doesn't rely on mining. Instead, independent validators, which can be universities, financial institutions, or independent operators, agree on which transactions are valid and in what order they should be recorded. This process of agreement is called consensus. Because validators don't compete, transactions settle in just a few seconds. The fees are extremely low, and the system consumes only a fraction of the energy required by proof of work. The XRP ledger also consistently processes 1,500 transactions per second, but has been stress tested to scale over 50,000, which rivals Visa's at peak capacity. It has also closed more than 100 million consecutive blocks without error, proving that consensus is not only efficient, but also highly reliable. By 2020, RippleNet was already processing billions in payments with partnerships across Santander, American Express, MoneyGram, and Fider Bank. XRP reached a $120 billion market cap in 2017, demonstrating its potential as a utility-driven asset. But things changed in December of 2020 when the SEC filed its lawsuit alleging that $1.3 billion in unregistered security sales took place. The case caused XRP's price to collapse and led to widespread delisting, shaking confidence across the market. But besides all this, Ripple doubled down. They expanded their on-demand liquidity corridors in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, securing licenses in Singapore and the UK, and launching RLUSD, a US dollar-pegged stablecoin that surpassed $1 billion in market cap by 2025. The XRP Army, which is Ripple's organized community of investors and advocates, they mobilized with over 75,000 holders joining legal filings to support Ripple. Many investors believed that the lawsuit was politically motivated, especially since Bitcoin and Ethereum had already received regulatory clarity, while institutions like JP Morgan and BlackRock publicly criticized digital assets, but privately were accumulating them. And one of the questions that I received is regarding tokenization, specifically around REITs. So someone said, if we already have REITs, why would tokenization matter? So traditionally, REITs, or real estate investment trusts, pool investor money to buy or manage income-producing properties, offering dividends and liquidity through stock exchanges. While this structure does provide fractional ownership, it comes with limitations such as high maintenance fees, restricted trading hours, poor reporting, and barriers to global participation. Tokenization, on the other hand, transforms this model by representing direct fractional ownership of real estate on blockchains. Instead of owning shares in a company that manages those properties, investors can own digital tokens tied directly to the properties themselves. These tokens can be traded globally 24/7 with smart contracts automatically distributing rental income in real time. This democratizes access, lowers costs, increases transparency, and provides global reach in ways REITs just can't do. XRP plays a critical role in this transformation by serving as the settlement layer that bridges tokenized property and those shares across borders, reducing foreign exchange costs and integrating with Ripple's acquisitions in treasury, custody, and stablecoin infrastructure. So in this way, XRP's utility extends beyond payments into reshaping real estate investment markets, showing why tokenization is not redundant, but a leap forward from the traditional REIT model. By August 2025, the SEC's long-running case against Ripple finally ended. Although the agency sought $2 billion in fines, it failed to secure that outcome. The resolution provided XRP with unique regulatory clarity. Institutional sales would require registration, but exchange sales were not considered securities. This breakthrough unleashed a wave of adoption, with XRP exchange-traded funds launching in late 2025, institutional inflows accelerating, and XRP climbing past $3 for the first time since 2018. For the first time in modern finance, retail investors front-ran the banks and institutions, accumulating XRP early, staying through the lawsuit, and pushing for clarity. When ETFs and institutional rails finally arrived, it was retail conviction, not banks, that led to that adoption curve. Ripple reinforced its position through strategic acquisitions in 2025 as well. It purchased G Treasury, which is a leading corporate treasury management platform. Treasury systems are the backbone of large enterprises, handling cash flow, liquidity, and risk management. By acquiring G Treasury, Ripple positioned XRP as a tool to unlock idle capital trapped in traditional banking processes, enabling instant settlement of corporate payments and improving efficiency for multinational firms. Ripple also acquired Hidden Road, a prime brokerage firm, for $1.25 billion. Prime brokers provide institutional investors with services such as trade execution, clearing, and access to financial markets. Hidden Road's specialty is the repo market, which is short for repurchase agreements. The repo market is a multi-trillion-dollar system where institutions borrow and lend cash, often overnight, using securities like U.S. Treasuries as collateral. It is one of the most important sources of short-term liquidity in global finance, allowing banks and funds to manage daily cash needs and meet regulatory requirements. By entering this space, Ripple positioned XRP as a bridge asset for institutional liquidity flows, allowing banks and funds to settle repo transactions instantly across borders without the friction of foreign exchange costs. Ripple also acquired Rail for $200 million to strengthen RLUSD stablecoin ecosystems, enhancing issuance, transfer, and compliance. And finally, Ripple purchased Palisade, a custody and wallet infrastructure company, giving enterprises secure, regulated ways to hold XRP, RLUSD, or other tokenized assets. And so together, these acquisitions transformed Ripple from just a payments company into a full-stack fintech provider, embedding XRP at the center of corporate liquidity, institutional finance, stablecoins, and custody. Meanwhile, the U.S. government pivoted towards digital assets. In January of 2025, President Trump signed an executive order establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve and a broader U.S. digital asset stockpile, later stating that the reserve would eventually include Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, and guess who? XRP. This marked a dramatic shift from earlier administration's hostility towards crypto, signaling that digital assets were now seen as strategic resources. The regulatory landscape advanced further with the passage of the Genius Act in July of 2025, which created the first federal framework for stablecoins, requiring issuers to maintain 100% reserve backing in US dollars or treasuries, publish monthly reserve disclosures, and comply with anti-money laundering rules. Crucially, the Act clarified that permitted payment stablecoins are not securities, legitimizing RLUSD. And at the same time, Congress advanced the Clarity Act, a comprehensive digital asset market structure bill that defined commodities versus securities and introduced the concept of investment contract assets, tokens that begin as securities but evolve into commodities once decentralized. The Act confirmed that decentralized utility-driven tokens like XRP fall under the commodity framework, eliminating the ambiguity that fueled the SEC's lawsuit and unlocking broader institutional participation. By late 2025, the SEC itself had pivoted. Once hostile under Gary Gensler, the agency began recognizing digital assets as part of the financial system. The launch of XRP ETFs was a clear sign of this change, giving both everyday investors and institutions regulated access to XRP. This turnaround meant XRP and RLUSD were not only compliant with US rules, but positioned at the center of America's digital asset future. For institutions, XRP reduced foreign exchange costs and freed up idle capital. For local communities, it enabled faster and cheaper remittances, especially for small banks and credit unions who serve everyday people like you and I. For investors, regulatory clarity transformed XRP and RLUSD into practical, utility-driven assets rather than speculative bets. And then we have custody, which also evolved. Custody is the secure safekeeping and management of digital assets like XRP or RLUSD to protect them from loss, theft, or misuse. In the early days, investors like myself bought XRP on exchanges like Uphold or Coinbase or whatever, and some of us transferred it to hardware wallets secured by 25-word seed phrases. And while this ensured safety, self-custody is complex, and exchanges often proved unreliable during market volatility. Outages, withdrawal fees, freezes, liquidity issues made exchanges a risky long-term strategy. Professional brokerages like Caleb & Brown emerged as solutions, offering institutional-grade security powered by Fireblocks. Fireblocks operates as a qualified custodian under U.S. law regulated by the New York Department of Financial Services. It uses multi-party computation wallets, meaning that no single privacy key exists that could be stolen. It also provides automated policy controls for approving transactions, whitelisting for smart contracts, and undergoes rigorous third-party audits and penetration testing. Fireblocks partners with firms like Bakkt, Galaxy, and FalconX to expand regulated custody solutions for ETFs, token launches, and collateralized lending. So, in short, Fireblocks isn't just a wallet provider, it's a fully institutional custody and infrastructure platform that bridges traditional finance and crypto with compliance, security, and scalability. And I know it's a detailed explanation of Caleb & Brown and how they use Fireblocks, but I wanted to provide an explanation of why I moved my assets there versus keeping them on hardware wallets. And while Caleb & Brown is not a sponsor of my channel, if they want to, I'm open to it. So anytime, guys, give me a call. And I hope this helps. So if you guys have any questions, put them in the comments. Be glad to answer them if I can. But I have one final thought. We are all standing at the very beginning of a financial transformation that will reshape how value moves across the globe. What once seemed experimental is now becoming the foundation of a new era where digital assets like XRP are not just speculative instruments, but essential tools for payments, liquidity, and global commerce. The old rails of finance, which are slow, costly, and limited by borders, are giving way to systems that are instant, transparent, and universally accessible. Governments are pivoting, institutions are finally embracing tokenization, and retail investors have already proven their vision by leading the charge. The road ahead is bright. Digital assets are no longer a question of if, but of how far and how fast. With resilience, clarity, and utility at its core, XRP is positioned to be at the center of this transformation, and the journey we are embarking on is only just the beginning. For me, I've made poor investments in the past without doing much research, and they didn't turn out very well. My decision, however, to invest in XRP is different because it comes after deep study and a clear understanding of its utility. Putting a little money into XRP doesn't feel risky to me. In fact, it seems far riskier not to. With the governments pivoting, institutions embracing tokenization, and XRP positioned at the center of this all, the opportunity is too significant to ignore. Back in 2017, when many dismissed crypto as something only criminals used, corporations were quietly accumulating it. That made me realize something bigger was at play, and it clearly was. And another point worth mentioning is that after studying tokenization and digital assets, it becomes clear that once this system is fully in place, all transactions worldwide will be traceable on the blockchain. So this shift would limit financial privacy while curbing illicit activity, a trade-off that likely drove much of the political resistance to XRP early on. Even though I don't like that part of the puzzle, I've accepted that it's happening with or without my participation. So, as a family, we decided we might as well place some money alongside the billions already being invested and hopefully benefit from the shift. Besides, sorry to be cruel here, but I've pissed away more money in my life. So, until next time, this is the Rudik Report.